Welcome to Keto Meals and Recipes.com. It's been quite a while since I posted an ice cream recipe, so today I thought I would make my maple candied walnut ice cream. This particular ice cream has a rich and creamy texture which is based on and was inspired by my version of the Haagen Dazs vanilla bean ice cream. This particular keto maple walnut ice cream was a request and I'm really happy to make it. And I would like to dedicate this maple candied walnut ice cream flavor to you, John. Your daughter left me a comment and mentioned that you loved my Canadian maple walnut fudge and that you would also really appreciate a maple walnut ice cream. With that in mind, I thought I would make this sugar-free maple walnut ice cream with candied or caramelized walnuts, especially for you, John. I hope you will enjoy the ice cream as much as we did. And thank you for the suggestion. The macronutrient ratio for the maple candied walnut ice cream is 7.9 to 1 with 4.3 grams of total carbs, 1.1 gram of dietary fiber, resulting in 3.2 grams of net carbs per serving. Before continuing, I want to mention this ice cream is a machine-based recipe. But if you don't have a machine or you would prefer, do let me know in the comments below if you would like me to make this maple candied walnut as either a dairy-free recipe or a no-machine recipe, or even both. I don't mind at all making another version of this ice cream because it's really good. I always begin all of my recipes by first gathering up all the ingredients. This step will assure you that you're not missing any of the key ingredients and that you won't be stuck halfway through a recipe. The first thing I'll do is show you the steps to make the dry roasted and then the candied walnuts. You begin this by taking a pan, heating it up, and dry roasting all of your walnuts. Cook only until your walnut halves are starting to become fragrant and just slightly golden. You're not looking to completely brown the walnuts. You're just dry roasting to bring out more of the walnut flavor. And when this is done, immediately remove the walnut pieces from the pan and put the walnuts into a cool dish to stop the cooking process. And then divide the walnuts into the half cup and 1 cup and set it aside to cool. I'd also like to explain that for the ice cream you can use the dry roasted walnuts as they are or do this optional step, which is to candy the walnuts. This step is almost like making caramel but a little bit easier. So the first thing to do, as I already mentioned, is divide the walnuts into the 1 cup and half cup and put the half cup aside. You don't want to caramelize those. So to caramelize, now place the butter into a saucepan and add your sweetener. I'm using Lakanto Gold for extra flavor, and cook over medium-low heat until your sweetener has completely dissolved in the butter. And as it's cooking, stir every once in a while. Add your dry roasted walnuts to your pan and cook everything together for about 5 or 6 minutes. And as you're cooking, stir and toss frequently. Once the walnuts have been cooked, remove the pan from the heat and let the walnuts cool in the buttery mixture. About 10 minutes. This will allow for the candy, or if you want to call it caramel coating, to crystallize and coat your walnuts. When you notice that a coating has formed around your walnuts, scoop out the walnuts and drain them through a small sieve. Then place the walnut pieces in a single layer on a piece of parchment, and then set this aside for a moment so that the walnuts can cool completely. The next step is to make the custard for the ice cream. So first, to a saucepan, add your heavy cream and unsweetened almond milk. I prefer to use the unflavored almond milk for this ice cream base. Add the 1/2 cup of toasted walnut halves. Place your pot over medium heat and bring the cream mixture to a simmer. Reduce your heat slightly to maintain a very light simmer and cook for 5 minutes. To get the best walnut flavor for your ice cream, turn off the heat and let the walnuts sit in the milk cream mixture for about 1 to 2 hours, at which point you drain the cream to remove the walnuts from the mixture. Do so over a fine mesh sieve. You'll notice that these walnuts are very mushy, and if you take a bite, there's no flavor left in the walnuts at all. That's because all of the wonderful flavor has been absorbed into the cream. Since there's no use for these walnuts, just discard them at this point. Your cream mixture is now a little bit too cool to temper the eggs, so reheat the cream to a simmering stage. It's important to heat the cream because you need this to temper the eggs. And while you're reheating your cream, to a mixing bowl, add your egg yolks and confectionery sweetener. Whisk the egg yolk and sweetener mixture until they're very pale yellow and the volume has increased. At this point, we're ready to temper the egg yolk mixture, so slowly drizzle about 1 cup of hot cream mixture into the egg yolks. Note that as you're pouring in the hot cream mixture, whisk continuously. It's very important that you're whisking as you're pouring. This will prevent the egg yolks from curdling or cooking and forming clumps. Then repeat the process with a 2nd cup of hot liquid. The eggs are quite well tempered, so all you have to do now is just pour in the rest of the liquid and combine. Because you need to continue cooking, pour everything back into the pot you used to heat the cream. Sprinkle in your salt. Cook over medium-low or low heat, adjusting as needed until your mixture reaches 170 Fahrenheit or 77 degrees Celsius. As this custard is cooking, whisk continuously to create the best custard base. We've reached the right temperature, so it's time to turn off the heat, and at this point I'm going to add the sunflower lecithin. The sunflower lecithin is optional, but I do like to add it for some ice creams because it provides a smoother, creamier texture and mouthfeel, and also because these ice creams freeze if left in the freezer for 2 or 3 days. I find that when I use the lecithin, when I allow it to soften up a bit, it has maintained its nice creamy texture. But this is optional and not necessary. Place your sieve over the bowl with the ice water bath. Remove your custard from the heat immediately and strain the custard through the sieve. To help your custard cool more quickly, whisk every once in a while. And once the custard is cool to your touch, add your maple extract. And whisk to combine, of course. At this point you have 2 choices. You can either continue cooling the custard in the ice bath or cover the bowl with cling wrap and refrigerate for a few hours. I actually prefer to leave my custard in the ice bath and whisk from time to time. I find it cools faster and I don't get a skin on the custard. But if I don't have time, I do put it in the fridge. And the final step is to actually make the ice cream. This step will depend entirely on the machine you're using. So make sure that you have already prepared your ice cream maker according to your manufacturer's directions. I always like to start my machine churning before pouring in the custard, and then, very slowly and carefully, most of the time, I pour the custard into the pot. Put your lid on, and if your machine has a choice of settings, set it to the hardest consistency. And just let your ice cream maker do all the hard work for you. Again, depending on your machine, it could take anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes. In the description below, I'll post the link for my Breville ice cream maker and for a really good and very inexpensive Cuisinart machines that are highly rated for you to consider. I strongly advise that if you really like ice cream and plan to make it more frequently, start with an inexpensive machine. It's a lot less work than doing the manual ice cream method, and the results are much smoother and nicer. One more thing, I almost forgot to mention that I always chill my container that I'm going to store my ice cream in. And that's because the container is chilled to about the same temperature as my churning tub. As I said, we'll have about 20 minutes or so. While your ice cream is churning, it's time to chop the candied walnuts into fairly uneven but small-sized pieces. Add the chopped walnuts into the ice cream machine and mix until they're combined. I like quite a bit of walnuts in my ice cream, so I usually add a full cup, but you can add less walnuts if you like. And this is all there is to making this amazing maple candied walnut ice cream. And this ice cream is at a really nice soft serve consistency, and I'm going to transfer it into my chilled container. If you've not added all of your walnuts, or decide you want more, just toss the rest in and fold everything together. Depending on your machine, this ice cream is now at a very soft serve stage, and you can enjoy it this way. Or if you prefer a firmer ice cream, like an ice cream parlor style, cover your storage container and then put into the freezer. To get it a bit harder, let it set for at least 3 to 4 hours before serving. I find that after 4 hours it's the absolute perfect stage. But if you've left it overnight, you'll find that it's quite firm, so it might be a good idea to take it out and let it thaw a little bit on your counter before scooping it. I hope that everyone enjoys this recipe, especially you, John. Thank you very much for watching my video, and check out the end cards where I posted more of my ice cream flavors. By the way, if you like this video and are new to my channel or have not done so already, it would be a real honor if you would subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and scroll down to notify all. By doing so, you'll be alerted when I post my next video. And as always, the link for the printable maple custard walnut ice cream recipe will be posted in the description below. To everyone, good health and stay well.